Hello everybody, Dokkan here. Welcome to another Dokkan battle video. So today, I wanted to take a look at a tweet that I sent out a few days ago regarding this. Our favorite event of all time, right? The Festival of Battles. So I will be discussing my opinions and thoughts regarding the event. You guys know already, but I will go a little bit more in depth as to why I like or dislike it. We'll see, but yeah, I did let you guys with this post, and I also posted this one in particular, which is really frustrating because of course our boy Boo was not able to get the kill on this guy with the very low amount of HP and very high on turns, right? So let's go deep dive into these comments, right? So shout outs to our boy Dark Link, Celtic Link here. He says, to an extent, he does like the event for long content for stacking units. People will misconstrue you or misconstrue him, pointing the obvious issues as he is hating the event. Some will probably go even as far as say skill issue, but he'll stand by his points. I don't feel like there's any skill issue here. Like, the event in and of itself is not programmed to be something regarding skill. It could technically be seen that way because you will want to knock off the enemies before the amount of charges expire. That could be the cause and effect of that. But there are so many other things involving that could cause the problem, right? Currently, victory is heavily weighted by RNG, the charge counts, key placement, super attack placement. This one is huge because currently victory relies on a counter from Gogeta in several phases. Can all put you in situations where no matter how well you play, it's a guaranteed loss from the moment the phase loads in. And there's nothing you can do about it. Yep, I can agree with that. Not only it is a turn off for many players, but it means it really shouldn't be used for a barometer for any type of assessment. And that is what's been happening recently with like Truth showcasing other units that have been receiving the treatment of a stacker, right? We had the free-to-play LR Bardock, which I still yet to do the need to do a showcase for him. I gotta work on that. Bardock is a very good free-to-play stacking unit that can serve as a very useful unit for that event, because again, stackers are gonna be dominating this event in particular, because some of the units or most of the units in the game are not going to be able to survive a like whopping 7 million normal and a 24.5 million super attack, right? Not a lot of units can be able to lift that. With that being said, the event is a great playground for stacking units, and he thinks that those are really the only types of units that should be assessed here. But as the new units released that aren't stackers, you don't think we should hold viability here against them, since they clearly weren't designed for this, and we have tons of other relevant content for them. I want to end by saying he does like the event for stacking units. He had a lot of fun building up tech trunks, over 129 million. Yeah, tech trunks. Tech transforming trunks is a pretty good and useful unit in that event as well. But he can see himself having fun with the other units. He just doesn't want it to be the ominous dominus end all be all of our ratings. I am going to say this: you won't be able to properly judge a unit, whether it be a stacking unit or somebody in that aspect, because the tougher phases are like in turn 60 something, right? You do have to go super far into the event so they can be able to be seen in effect. How can a unit be rated? For example, you have to face UI Goku, like starting to fight UI Goku or Int Majin Buu. Those units in particular can be able to do a decent amount of damage, but they're not going to be super like relevant right at the beginning of the fight or right in the middle of the fight. You do have to go from phase 40 to phase 50 to then judge the unit accordingly. And if he does well, if he doesn't, then yeah, right. So yeah, I do agree. This is not a playground for all the units to be showcased here. However, if you do want to have fun with stacking characters and things like that, I would agree that this is a good event for that, right? Good old Avalon. I hate it because I had skill issues. Yeah, he unfortunately got supered. I don't know by who, but he unfortunately got supered there. Pretty bad. That is a problem, right? One of the main problems here is, like, let's say this scenario. I don't know what scenario befell there, right? The amount of turns that you go here and the amount of time that you spend on the event, it's between 2.5 to 3 hours. Within said time frame, you're just mind-numbed at the point to, like, are you even gonna try again if you die here? That it's a little bit addicting in a sense, because oh, you got really far, but oh wait, you can get even closer to the end if you try another strategy, or I definitely make it this far, I can go the distance and finally finish up this fight, right? It's a little bit awkward as well, because if you do spend like 3 hours trying to do this, then you had to spend another 3 hours trying to make it back to where you left off, which is very horrible. And then having this scenario right here where your enemy is like literally 3% HP. He's just not looking good here. I didn't have my mouse clicked up over where I needed to have it clicked up, but if you have it, like, he's so close to dying, and this bad boy right here doesn't go the distance and be able to toss out the additionals that he needs to toss out, then it's over, GG. And like, will you make it back again? Like, will you jump back into the event? It all depends, right? But yeah, shouts to Shadow. He really enjoys the event and have it run multiple times for fun. As someone who wanted long events for quite some time, this is a real treat. Is it perfect? No, I'm not a fan of the charges, but he is understanding why it's necessary. The time it takes to get the real tough parts of the fight, he can understand, can be rough, but he thinks is a good remedy to that would be a save and quit feature, which we don't have, right? If you go the distance, you go super far into the event, but then you die, there's no checkpoint. Oh, like, oh, you made it this far. Once you load back in or jump back into the event, you can be able to have access to where you left off. No, you're gonna have to start from the very beginning, which is very annoying for people, right? Something to save your progress so you can leave and do other events and then return back to where you left off and continue on. I'm not one to sit here and say whether a character is good or not based on this particular battle, because some are meant for it and some are not. That is true. That is correct. I think overall this is just meant to be an enjoyable content to those who like it, and for those who don't, that's okay too. Yeah, like, the one thing that people are going for with this is the exclusive title, right? That beautiful Champion of the Festival title. And of course you can only get it once you defeat Vegito at the final phase. So getting it kind of gives you like a little bit of like that dopamine rush or self-satisfaction, like, yes, I finally made it, I don't have to struggle anymore, this is pretty annoying, finally we made it. But yeah, it is an enjoyable event for those who have already conquered it, but for those who haven't yet, could deal with like, man, I'm not touching this event anymore, or I'm gonna wait until worldwide so I can be able to tackle it again. There's so many other factors here and there that people might just say that, yeah, this is not it. Saeed, my boy, he says he likes it. He doesn't think that it was designed to be the standard for anything, though. And again, that is something that people are misconstruing a lot, because people are seeing that event as, oh, this is a stacker battlefield, where every unit in there that can stack can be comfortable enough to just bring the unit there and see how that stacking unit performs, which is good. I'm not gonna take away that part. If you do enjoy just the unit being stacking, just going over there into the event, then by all means, dude, just go ahead and do it. Just test out the unit, see how much of a very high attack stat or defensive stack can you be able to get. Just experiment. Just have some fun in the event. However, for people who are saying, oh, let me showcase this unit that doesn't stack at all, any attack or any defense, like, yeah, here we go. And if they're shocked or surprised that that unit didn't do well, then what was the whole deal, right? It's a little bit confusing in a sense, right? Well, not confusing. It's a no-brainer type of decision. You will say, oh, I am not doing this, where I'm gonna be bringing a unit that is not meant for stacking. It's not meant for this. It's not meant for that. I'm not gonna do this anymore. So you just leave them alone. So that's one of the cases. But then there's the other case of, yes, I should utilize this unit to go not do the things that he was meant to do, right? So yeah, I think I went on a little bit of a tangent, but you guys know, you guys understand, right? It was not designed to be an event that you jump back into with new releases unless they're stacking units. So King Hitman, my boy, my dude, all people have to do is beat as many levels as they can, really just 25. Yeah, that's for just the rewards, the items, and things like that. With items and memories, then sit until the units that the player needs over time come out. But yeah, like people were saying like, oh, we should wait until like Golden Week or worldwide download celebration. Maybe we can be able to get some better units on that time. So that way we don't have to have a problem with actually just going through the events, right? And I agree. Like, if you're not ready yet to tackle the event, I know how frustrating it can be to not tackle the missions right away, but I feel like you might have to just disconnect yourself a little bit if you're feeling a little bit frustrated, because it gets frustrating. I had some instances where I was like, can I please just get to this portion of the fight? And I didn't do it because either RNG, the key didn't help, the additionals didn't proc for a specific unit, we didn't take down the enemy in a certain amount of charges. All of these factors contribute to just that frustrating, frustrating factor there. So King Hitman really enjoys the event. It still agrees with all the criticisms. It's still far from the worst event. ITG, I don't know what the ITG is. But 999 stage rate for Dragonstones. Now, hear me out though, because we have a little bit of a difference. We got 50 stages, right? And in those 25 stages, you get 25 Dragonstones, you get some titles, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. However, if you go all the distance to 50 and people realize how 3 hours of their lives get lost because you couldn't get a super attack off or the charges left out, it's gone. You have to restart. However, 999 stage ECA, the all-star raid, you're going to beat a particular stage and it saves your progress where you left it off. I hear that some people still haven't beaten the event because it takes so long. I remember doing that in a 22-hour live stream. Yes, it was silly, it was stupid that we actually just straight up went ahead and finished it off right there, one and done. But that was the point of me just having an interactive, fun, and enjoyable stream with everybody. However, you don't need to be like me and take on the event immediately as it drops. You can take your time with the event. However, with the 999 stage raid ECA, it saves your progress to where you left it off. You're not dying on that 999 stage ECA and then it restarts your progress. No, you can go in, jump into the event, do a few stages, and then leave. And then once you come back, the stages that you left it off are still going to be the stages that you're going to tackle. So I don't think that this is a worst event. I feel like this in particular is a pretty bad event. Granted, it's just going to be a one and done, as similar to the All-Star Raid ECA. But this one in particular, you die, you have to restart, which is ridiculous. That's my take. Shoutouts to Wanted. I think this is a message that he posted to me on the Discord. There is also some comments that I will reach out from Discord that I will show you guys in a bit from my Discord server. Do make sure to join in. Festival of Battles is a good step in the right direction for long-form content. However, it divided the community not only on how to rank units, but also whether or not we should validate the event as a whole when ranking units. I completely, like, I really don't think that we should utilize the event as something to rank units. Again, there's the whole, oh, this unit stacks, we're gonna bring them in there. This unit is a stacking unit, we're gonna bring them in there. Because it doesn't make sense, right? If a unit is stacking, he has high defenses. He can be able to tank a super attack. So the stacking, it's like the little meme that you guys are seeing online. A stacking unit in his natural habitat, right? Like a unit that has stacked multiple times for multiple turns is going to be good defensively. It's like saying water is wet. It's just that simple. So I don't think it is an event that people should assess things. I really disagree with that. People should not rank units on that event. And stackers, again, if you want to bring a stacking unit in there, you will know and understand that the unit that is going to be a stacking unit is going to do well on that event. That unit is going to do good on the event because it depends on how fast or how slow the unit is stacking attack and defense, or attack or defense. But the unit is going to be fine. There's no issues with the unit. There's no problem at all with the character, with who you're running. There's no issues with utilizing the unit because the unit is going to be fine. The charge count should be increased, but they do add the challenge. However, I would prefer them be removed for harder bosses as a whole. Gloria and Goku are the hardest part of the fight and should have just been two separate phases or not have charge counts at all for that phase. Otherwise, Festival of Battles is fun time to time, but losing in a 2.5 hour run is rough and ruins the motivation for a regular player to want to attempt it again. There should be checkpoints. Rokun is the GOAT and you should sub. I didn't read that. Oh, yeah, people, come on. That's the highlight. I mean, I'm not saying it. I'm not paying these people to say it, but you should do it. But yeah, shoutouts to Wanted. I do agree. Like, you do lose the motivation to continue to participate on the event because it's not fun doing this for 3 hours and then you have to jump back again because you lost by something as silly as this. Not finishing off the enemy. Can you imagine the type of frustration that you can get? Like, oh my god, you're so close to finishing off the enemy. Boo could have done an additional super attack there, and he didn't do it. He just got hit with, like, he did a super, and then I think he did another one, and then he did a normal. Where a super attack in that instance would have finished off. And that is what causes that type of, the level of frustration that can cause there. There's no checkpoints in there, which if we think about it objectively, I'm gonna be unbiased here. If we think about it in the heads of the producers, they will be like, oh, well, the event is actually not a bad design, because if you think about it, the event is meant for you to be, it's meant to be a challenge. It's really going to be a challenge. You're going to have to focus well on things that can go well for you or that can go pretty bad. The one thing that I really, really disagree with is the charges. The charges are the things that ruin things for you, because if the RNG is not with you on the field of orbs that you need to collect for specific particular units that need to collect a certain amount of orbs that they can, like for example, I'm talking about the Super Saiyan 4s and the Super Saiyan Gods here. They need to collect 20 ki in order for them to get the additional super. If they don't get that, you're not going to be able to finish off the enemy within that turn or within the charges collected. So it initially, I would say that they needed to increase their charges just a tad bit at the beginning there. It will kind of make it a little bit easy, but going from phase 1 to phase 16 with only one charge, and there are multiple enemies where the amount of HP... By the way, let me look it up real quick. All right, we're here in the challenge event. So, like, the amount of HP is not that bad. But, you know, it starts ramping up a little bit. Now you're fighting 2 enemies, and those 2 enemies have some decent amount of HP, which if you're not able to take them down in the amount of HP, like the amount of attacks that you're able to give out, then you're not going to be looking pretty, right? So, like, a common unit that you use in the event is Super Saiyan 3 Goku. You will want to either go Great Ape in this phase, or go Great Ape once you reach 2 turns, which is this guy. It starts off with this guy. So it's very difficult to like try to micromanage everything on the event. Everything has to go your way in terms of field of orbs collected, in terms of the charge counts. Everything has to go your way, because once you get into here, you're comfortable. You can take your time and taking down these enemies within these 2 turns. It all the way, it makes itself a little bit comfortable here. You do have to be careful though, because this guy, of course, he does nullify, like he does get like nullification with unarmed super attacks. I didn't mean to point at this guy. And then you also have to be careful with this guy. Where are you at? This guy, because he also nullifies attacks in a certain way. And then after this, now you're starting to get into the big boy table. Because, you know, the damage is going to ramp up, the HP is going to ramp up, you're going to have 3 turns to take down the enemy. But again, with the amount of HP that these guys are going to get, and the amount of damage that they're going to do, you do have to be careful. The RNG needs to bless you. And yeah, the thing that he meant to say before we move on, the Goku and the Daima Goku and Glorio faces, man. In 3 turns, you do need to neutralize one of these guys, preferably Goku, so that you can lead the charge up against Glorio. If you're running the same team as everybody else is running, right? The Vegito-Gogeta combo with the 70th anniversary of Lars, the Super Saiyan 3/Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and Namek Goku, or Broly, or Bardock, which I've seen people run, or Kid Goku perhaps, etc. And then once you get into here, you have 4 turns where you're comfortable with. You just pop the fusions and let them go ham over here. So, but assessing units, like, bro, all the way over here, the fight's a cakewalk. So you have to jump over here. Like, if you really want to test out how the unit works, you have to jump over to this particular phase and test out the unit. That's where it will really count, because these guys, they're paper mache. They're not gonna kill you. So, yeah. All right, let's bring up the members over on the Discord server real quick. So, got my little clip note here, sorry. Shouts to Anto. To be honest, he doesn't mind the concept of the event. Long battles, high defense, hits hard, and then has other gimmicks. But that turn counter is what kills it for him. Losing a battle 3 hours in on turns just doesn't feel right. They could even change it to where they have like a saga battle, so have a bunch of enemies from the sagas, or for movies plus other categories, even for the hero side, and keep this sort of event/challenge alive for future celebrations, which they can by adding category missions to, especially if they aren't getting legendary battles anytime soon. I don't like that though. If they add missions to like having category missions, you do have to, again, this event is favorable for people that stack. So if you have stacking units, that is what helps the case of the fight. That is what can help you take down the fight. But if you don't have anybody that can help you out here, like you're done. There's no way that you can be able to clear any like category missions anytime soon, man. I don't know about that, but yeah, I do agree. Losing to the battle 3 hours in on just the turn thresholds is what kills the event for people. I do agree with that. Shouts to Senor David. He's happy to finally have an event in which stackers can thrive and perform at their best, but he thinks that it has been kind of poorly executed. I do agree with that. It's ridiculous to play for more than 2 hours, maybe die for bad RNG or for not being able to kill the boss before running out of charges, and having to start over from scratch. Yeah, that's the problem, yeah. I think they should have either implemented checkpoints or gotten rid of the charge limits in the last fights. As much as he loves the concept itself, it's too time consuming and RNG dependent in my opinion. I completely agree. The charges are the problem. The RNG is the problem. Sometimes you can have a field of orbs that is like, how can I get a super attack off? You're bringing up units that are like considered stacking characters, right? And these units, like the Super Saiyan Force, the Super Saiyan Gods, I'm taking them into consideration here because you're gonna be bringing them in the event. They do so much damage that is so needed for some of the later portions of the fight that if you don't bring those units, who are you bringing? Like, you can bring stacking characters, but they won't be able to finish out the fight for you. Because that's another thing. You do have to think about the damage portion of the fight, and you also have to think about the defensive portions of the fight. The damage portion of the fight, oh, you can handle it pretty well. You got the 10th year anniversary characters that they can be able to do some really good damage. You got the 7th year anniversary characters that, by God, if you get them stacked and get them transformed all the way to like turn 48, and they're like juiced up, they're going to explode. They're going to make the enemy pop like a balloon. But that's the thing. It's so specific to bring those types of units because of the charge count. If you bring only stackers into the event and you don't have any other characters that can do damage on the fight, you're not going to be able to finish out the fight because of the charge counts. So I would say, like, the charge counts are good. The amount of HP that these enemies have, it's crazy. But they knew that we would have to bring the 7th year anniversary LRs in there because of the amount of damage that they're able to do after they're transformed, after they're stacked by a really good amount of time. So that is one of the main reasons I feel like the event is considered catered to the 7th year anniversary LRs, to the 10th year anniversary LRs, and that's it. Defensive wise, again, stacking units are going to be good. So if you stack all the way to like Super Gogeta and you have over 10 million defense on a particular unit, then boom, you're golden, you're good. Recently, we've only gotten 2 of these characters after the 10th year anniversary celebration. Kid Goku, LR Bardock. Are you thinking about bringing those units in there? I haven't tested out Kid Goku for myself to know that he is going to be a really good stacking character that can do damage. But defensively, again, the event is catered for stacking characters, so you're not gonna suffer death until you get to Super Gogeta and Super Vegeta, which, again, their normals, 7 million damage. Their super attack damage, 24.5 million. So, shouts to Tekka. Not gonna lie, he kind of likes the event. It's a good way to see whether or not certain units can cook if given enough time, especially stacking units like the new Bardock or Super Saiyan 3 Goku. Would really only do it while he's doing something else because it takes ages, but he still kind of has fun with it. I agree. That's okay. That's a good sentiment to have. I'm not going to diminish the fun of the event. I'm just pointing out the issues as to why this event, it can be very frustrating. And like, people like it. I see that people are enjoying the event. I, for one, I can say I enjoy it. I feel like this is completely different from what we're getting. It's different from the norm of events that we've been getting. But the amount of time spent in the event is what kills it for me. And how you can die on the event, not by the enemy hitting you with a super attack, because it's been like 2 or 3, maybe 4 times the amount of times that I died because of somebody getting supered. It's the charge count. The charge count, the RNG with the orbs, those are the issues for me. That is the problem. Dark Link, he says he likes the long battles mainly because of the whole haha number go big, yeah, from the stackers. And advertising it as the hardest fight was interesting, but in his opinion, there are 2 main problems with the event. It takes too long. Yeah, most of us don't have 2 hours or 2+ hours to spend on a single attempt of an event. Your boy streamed almost 24 hours in total for that. Also, he shares the sentiment that this stage doesn't need the charge counter. Yep, I agree with that. I get it that it can get difficult with balancing those events since you can make your own unit super tanking / one-shot, thus pressuring you to not stall. But come on, if the event was already going to last around 80 turns, what difference does it make? In fact, remember the charge counter would make it so that the players themselves choose to stall or not, even running the risk of exceeding 100 turns and start to lose stacks. Also, if you want to waste your time on a battle for only for one mistake to cost a run, he goes for high scores on burst mode. That mode lets you choose if you want to go hard AF fight, if you want a hard AF fight or not. This I agree. Yeah, like if they wanted to, I'm not gonna make it as a comparison. Like if you would like to die in a way that is like, oh yeah, well, just get me killed, bruh. Like there's nothing else. Then yeah, go for it. But like there's no rhyme or reason. I feel like if they remove the charge counter, what other things can make it so that the fight is acceptable for people? Would it be the difficulty of these, like the beginning of the phases, right? Do they have any special gimmicks like locking and sealing? Would that be a counter issue, or like a counter to the having the little charges? Because they can have the charges, or you can have the difficulty portion of the event, like having some ailments being introduced there. Because some units, some of the enemies can dodge, some of the enemies can nullify attacks here and there. Some enemies can get some damage reduction. But in my case in particular, I feel like that's what they made the event for, to test out your capacity on how to run the events and clearly think as to what you're doing. Because if you go super fast on the event, you can make a mistake right then and there and you lose the fight. However, if you think really, really well, which again, it's going to take you a lot of time if you do this for every single phase, you're going to have to sit down and properly think, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to go down? How is it going to support? Like, I can do this with the orbs so I can get these orbs down. Oh, wait, I can possibly die because this guy is going to super at the end, maybe. Oh, this guy's defense is not super high. Let me switch over. Yeah, like there's so many different factors on the fight. I feel like that this fight is meant for you to think and be able to tackle it on, but not to have it as a showcase fight. That's what I mean. Crew. This is our boy, Crew, over in the community. If you guys don't know him, he does have the Megate no Gokui little name. He loves the event because it makes you think your attacks and when you use your actives, as well as transforming characters, make you think you should prioritize. That is the consensus that I wanted to implicate, right? The thought process that you need to have is so critical on these fights. That is what makes it so challenging, because you have to sit down and you have to properly think, what am I doing? Am I doing this correctly? Is this how it's supposed to go? Am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to do this? How are things are meant to go? That is the type of how the fight's designed, because it makes you think. However, it's frustrating with the charge count, with the RNG, and the key that you can collect. It's so critical to have things go your way, or you're going to have to restart all over again. Preston, well, in my opinion, he likes and hates it at the same time. The reason he likes it is that it's super long and we can stack up units for centuries. Plus, it is so scary when the bosses start hitting super hard. It adds such a fear factor to the game, knowing that at any second you can die from a stray super, and then you have to restart, by the way. The cons to the fight is that the dang charge count, which means you can't run weaker stacking units that you have and are basically required to run the best of the best of stacking units. That is true. I don't know if this comment was made today, but of course we do have that free-to-play LR Bardock. At LR Bardock, I've seen people actually beat the event with the free-to-play LR Bardock, and it's very, very good. Then there's the amount of time it takes, which wouldn't be such a bad problem if they didn't include the charge count, because now you're on a time restraint. An example is you're 1 health bar away from beating Tech Vegito, the final boss, but because of the charge count, you can go again, and that wouldn't be that bad if it didn't take around 3 hours to complete the whole event. Yep, I agree with that as well. It just takes so freaking long to get to that portion of the fight that it's like, well, here we are. If I don't beat it, I've wasted 3 hours basically, because there's no checkpoint. There's no way to get back to the progress that you lost. You just have to start all over again. Just to wrap it up, all people would have loved this event 10 times more if there was no charge counter, but then it would have been basically become a super long version of the OG Legendary Goku event, which is what everyone wanted in the first place, but they added the charge counter to make it harder. But it's super hard already without the charge count being added. Then, if there was no charge counter, people would have for sure would have tried to use hybrids for stackers. I know Jay Fanta, shouts to our boy Jay Fanta, would have tried beating it with free-to-play stackers for sure. I agree. Again, it's just the time constraint, the turn count, or like the charge counter. The RNG has to go really, really well for you. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to knock out the enemy in time. And again, if you're up against the final boss, you're going to have to jump back in again if you die, right? So, shout out to the peeps over in the Discord. Let's go ahead and keep on reading some more tweets. Shout out to Eden. I understand people's gripes about the event taking 2+ hours to complete, and the charge count sucks because it ruined a lot of his runs early on. Sorry. Oh, I actually do need to take this away so you guys can read the tweet with me. I'm sorry. A lot of the runs early on, he does like the challenge and had fun all the way through, but after completing the event, I will not be running this event again. Exactly. And that is where people are like, oh my god, should this be an event to should this be the event to determine how units are, like how good the units would look here? Is this the event for it? I say no. People are not going to run this event again after they beat it, because they know the pain that they went through to try to beat the event, and they're like, man, I don't think I can jump over to do the event once more, because look at how long it takes, man. It's ridiculous. It takes 3 hours to get to the final phases, and if you die because of a stray super attack, because you couldn't finish the enemy on time, because of the charge counter, because of any particular mistake that you can make that can cost you the run, people are not going to jump back into the event. Maybe to try to beat it eventually later on, but not for the fun of it, right? Truth is the only maniac that can do that. And Celtic Link, there's some other people in the community that, of course, they see a stacking unit. It's like, oh, well, stacking unit, go burr, right? All right. Bean from Fall Guys. Shark just ruined it. That's all I have to say. Yeah, I really would like a little bit more on that. But yeah, it's simple, right? Most of these comments are just gonna go for that matter, right? The charge count. The charge count is what makes it very unfun, right? John Doe, he lost the concept. Wish they gave more stones for beating it, just instead of 25 at halfway, but it's fun. That is another issue. The rewards. Why are we only getting 25 dragon stones and titles? There could have been a lot more that they could have done for the event. Unfortunately, they only said, we're only going to give you 25 dragon stones. And hopefully you enjoy it. Just 25 stones. That's it. and some skill orbs here and there, depending on how far you made it after phase 25. Chili, how's it going? I enjoyed it. It's nice to see longer content in the game, and frankly, it's fun to have an event that stackers can shine after so long. We get so many different short events. I would agree. Yeah, this is a nice little long event that people can be able to dust off the stacking characters and say, oh, well, here we go. Let's go ahead and utilize a stacking character like, you know, Namegoku, which a lot of people are like kind of underestimating a little bit. But of course, Namegoku is going to be very, very good in this event because he stacks, right? Had to take a sip of my Dr. Pepper there. I'm sorry. Dank, a mostly fun one-off fight. Nice little summary there. He sees it as a fun fight, but it's a one-off fight, right? You just beat it and then you're done. You're not jumping into the event again. Why? Why would you jump into the event again? That's the thing. You maybe want to test out some units here and there. You maybe want to see how the units perform, but like, I don't feel like people are just going to jump for the sake of having fun with it. Maybe on a, like, let's say you're on a boring birthday party for some unknown reason, right? And then you're like, I need something to pass the time. What can I do? You just do the event. You lose 2 to 3 hours in there. And then by the time you're done, you're like, oh, is the party over? Okay, bye. Something like that. That is the only way that I can imagine people just jumping into the event again. Or just maybe for the fun of it, because it is available permanently. So people can be able to do it as many times as they want. But how would you consider it, oh, I'm going to jump again, but I'm going to use a different team setup this time around, right? All right. Shouts to Muppet. I personally like the event overall. I'm still in the mix of whether or not it should be the new standard about how units perform when this is just where stackers will shine the most. But overall, he finds it entertaining to see big numbers. Only downside is the charge count. I agree. Again, you guys are starting to see the pattern here. The charge count can be an issue. Maybe RNG can be an issue. Things like that. I see it as a nice little event. You can bring stackers in and have an enjoyable time just seeing the big numbers. However, bringing characters that are released, let's say a new unit comes out in like next week. I don't think this is an event to showcase a new unit in there unless it's a completely good stacking unit. Units that only raise attack and defense for 1 turn, I don't think it's a good idea to bring in there. It's really, really dependent on just bringing stacking units on that event because of how the length of the event just kind of makes it so that stacking units are necessary. So there's no need for, I don't feel like this is a new standard of showcasing unit. Truth does see it that way. Other people may see it that way. I do not. I don't feel like this should be an event where people can test out new units that are coming out unless they're stackers. That's it. And again, it's the same principle. Oh, a stacking unit tanked a super attack for like 24.5 million, and this unit had 26 or 20 million defense, but he was able to tank it pretty well. Why? Because he's a stacking unit. He stacked all the way until 20 million defense, and he tanked a super. Again, water is wet. How can you get wet with water? Bruh. Rudy. I'm just going to say, Rudy, you're not a loser. What are you talking about? You're not a loser. He thinks the length of the event is what's killing the enjoyment for most people, himself included. 2 hours to then get to the meat of the fight just isn't that fun, all that fun in his opinion. Sure, more units will release to beat it, but the length will still be there. So when he sees people saying this, the same situation as Red Zone Fusion Samasu and Broly, it really isn't. Those fights didn't take 2 hours every single run you attempted, which matters. Let me bring this up, right? I don't understand why people are doing this, because there's no need to make it a comparison. So let's talk about this event right here. And there's another one that we can discuss. Let me just start looking those up. But let's just take a look at it, right? Boom. This is a perfect example of as to like gauging the type of ways that you can see an event, right? For example, let's take a look at this event in particular. Again, this is a one try event that'll take you 2 to 3 hours to beat it because of the length of the event, the amount of HP that these guys have. It takes so long to take them down, and it takes so long to get to the point of the finale that is going to take you 2 to 3 hours to beat it. Assessing units in here will be like only stacking units. That's the only reason. That's the only way that I can be able to see it. We go into red zone. We go into the red zone. Let's bring this one. This one in particular is where you can say, okay, I can be able to assess units in a every unit every unit that releases in the game, no matter if it's a stacking unit, no matter if it's a turn raise, you're going to assess them in here because it makes sense. You just go into the event and see, oh well, this unit is just going to take this amount of damage. Oh, this unit is going to take this amount of damage. How can we be able to take down an enemy that has 550 million HP? Meanwhile, these enemies are just going out like paperweight until you get to here. All of them they can be easily killable within a certain amount of turns. But you will start fearing a super attack from these enemies, possibly when you get to here. This is a challenging event where you can be able to assess units. It doesn't matter how lengthy it is. It matters that it's just a compact event where you can be able to see the performance of a unit, where it doesn't take you 3 hours to get to these portions of the fight and say, oh, well, now I can be able to test out how the unit looks. Same as here. Same as this event, the Battle Hardened Formidable Foes. This is an event that has a few phases. If you die, of course, you have to restart all over again, but you can be able to test out immediately as a one-off. Boom. You go into here, enemies are tossing out 3.3 million supers, 2.8 million supers. Then when you get over here, 3 million supers, 5.6 million supers. Like, you can see it. It's a compacted event that doesn't take you 50 hours to try to beat it. Because, oh, I want to test out how the unit looks in here, but it's not a stacking unit. Or I want to test out a stacking unit, but the only ways that I can be able to see something happening is when we get to here. Like these phases. It doesn't make sense. So whenever people are saying like this, like, oh, it's just, this is how you're supposed to assess units. No, I completely disagree. Shouts to Ultra. For him, the main issue is the charge counts and the amount of time it takes for it to get challenging. If it took about an hour, it wouldn't be as bad as it has been. And this is coming from someone who wanted long events and enjoys stackers personally. And charge counts should be removed as a concept completely, because it's just adding artificial difficulty for no reason at all. I hope if they redo the concept, they make it shorter and more fun. I feel, I don't want to say I disagree. I don't want to say that because I don't. I feel like this is a valid point here. I don't think it should be removed completely. This is what makes the event challenging. The charge count. That is the issue with the charge count. What I think that makes it a problem as well is like the selection of units is very limited. Very, very limited. Again, let me actually just plug in my phone so I can show you guys the last team that I ran up against the event. And you guys are going to see that it's just the one event that I like, the one try, because I have not been able to replicate this ever again, nor have I ever been like doing the event off camera at my leisure, right? If I had the time, maybe, but yeah, it's not been the case. So let's jump over here. Like, this is the team that I use. You have such a limited selection in here. Like, who are you bringing? This is the lineup. This is the roster. I've seen this guy, D. Simmons, beat the event with the double Glorio setup. Because this team, this is doable. I think that if you change this with Gohan, the Tech Sea Sword Gohan, I feel like it'll be much more doable, and I kind of want to try it out on my spare time. I might try it after recording this video. It might take me some time, but yeah, I might try it out. But I mean, we can jump in. How about we jump in and we can talk about the difficulty on this. I actually should have jumped in. Am I gonna have to take the rainbow with no skill orbs? Rainbow it is. But yeah, this is what makes it so troublesome to get through to the event, right? The charge count is what makes you like sit down and think, oh, what should you do? Of course, on these initial phases, you won't have a problem. However, the problem lies in getting the super attacks to pop off with some of these units that really desperately need to get supers off. Because if we know my RNG by heart, and believe me, I know, it's like the orbs that you can collect here they're just awful. One of the biggest tragedies that I've had, right? The orbs is the problem for me. So I don't think that the charge counts should be removed altogether. If anything, I feel like they should extend the charge counts from this phase in particular. They just want you to one-shot enemies from phase 1 all the way to phase 16. And then once you get to phase 16, it's now going to start being 2 turns. But if we have issues, and I hope that the game just says, here you go, there's the problems that you wanted. Which is the key. Like these guys in particular, they need the 20 key super attacks. Because if they don't, they're failing to get that additional super attack at the end there. So if they don't get that, you're not going to progress too much on the event. So that is my rebuttal there. Shout out to Cheese. No, the event sucks. Arguably one of the worst events ever added. Yep, I agree. But I'll discuss a little bit more after this. And then, of course, Andy, shout out to you. The charge limit, bleh, is not fun. Are there quote tweets on this? Let me see. Yeah. He absolutely, shouts to Ed. He absolutely loves it. He loves the big numbers. He likes to see the big numbers, yeah. So let me let you know my thoughts on this event. The event is fun. Now, you know, it doesn't make sense, right? After you sit down and think of it, after you've beaten the event. Yeah. Like, it won't make sense because once you're tackling the event trying to beat it, I did say the event sucks. It's one of the worst things ever. I will agree to my past self. The event sucks. It's one of the terrible things that they've added into the game because a lot of people expected a lot from this event, right? They expected high rewards because of the entirety of the risk that you take on tackling this event. Just, you know, how sheer difficult it is to make it to the latter portions of the fight and then to just die by a charge counter that didn't went your way, or not being able to get enough orbs for certain units so they can be able to get their super attacks to pop off. It can be really frustrating. The length kills it for me. I don't like spending 3 hours on an event where I'm really close to beating it and I couldn't beat it because, again, the charge counter is a factor. The key that you can collect on these on these units can be a factor. Dying by a super attack, albeit, is very, very rare to die by a super attack. It all depends on how your RNG goes. But like again, you have units that can have scouters in here. So if they have the scouters on, you can be able to see where the super attack lies, and you can be able to plan out the moment. I don't know about units that you can bring into the event that say, oh, well, I'm not going to use the scouter just to make it a lot more challenging, just to see what the super attack is. But you take advantage of that to just try to beat the event altogether. But I think that the concept of the event is fun. I don't think the execution of it was good. The charge counts are like the most troublesome thing ever. It's very frustrating that, like, if you get a unit out here that doesn't super attack at all, or he supers but it doesn't do as much damage as you would like for example this right here, where I had Boo do supers and he didn't finish off this Goku on the final turn, that can be very frustrating. This is another example right here. Let's say this, boom, you get the Great Ape. Oh, you like, let's imagine that we didn't have any key and you have to get this. Like, that is a problem in and of itself. The key can be an issue sometimes, and you can't control that because that's the game. That's just the game. The game gives you a certain amount of key spheres. If it treats you well, then boom, you have the capabilities of doing an ultra super attack. But if the key is not with you, if the units are not doing additional supers, you're dead in the water. You're not going to be able to finish off the fight. So yeah, like, I don't hate the event, but I don't like it either. I'm in a neutral zone with the event. Would I attempt it again? I mean, you guys are seeing me attempt it again, but I kind of want to test out this team to see if it actually works out, because this team can go really, really fast. It's faster in comparison to how I beat the event, primarily. But the charge counts can be an issue. Key can be a problem sometimes with these units that are so key hungry. They need you to get over 20 key in order for you to, like, get an additional and things like that. Like, those can be very, very troublesome. And if you don't get those to pop off to your leisure, right, then GG, it's over. You're gone, right? So the event has so many many flaws in there, but those are not the flaws that make it so that, oh, the event should not exist. Because this is a nice little end game event for people who have an end game account, right? Who have been playing for years and years. They have the strategies planned out in their head. But you guys are seeing me use 10th year anniversary characters. You guys are seeing me use the 7th year anniversary units. Actually, no, the only 7th year anniversary units that I'm using here is the Gogeta unit. But you guys are seeing it, right? Like, it takes a lot of critical thinking. So, and of course the RNG. The RNG is always a factor. This game is just riddled. It's always going to be riddled with the RNG. That you have to basically learn how to tackle the event because of the RNG, right? Like, oh, look at this. This is a perfect example. We can see it right here. We don't have enough key to do the additionals that we need. So if in any case we don't take down this Gogeta, it's because of the key. It's the perfect example of how frustrating this event can be, because you're starting it off, you're kicking it off right here. Oh, you're going really, you're fully focused on how the event should roll, but oh well, key is the problem. Unfortunate. And that can cause a lot of frustrations, because if you don't kill here, you're gonna have to jump back into the event again. So, like, yeah, that is the problem. So there you go. That's gonna be it for the video right here. Again, if your thoughts and comments did not make it into the video, do make sure to leave me a comment down in the comment section of this video, right? Let me know your thoughts regarding how do you think they should have made this event? How do you think they should have done this event? Is this event to your liking? Do you enjoy the event? Do you think that this event should have been reworked or redone? Things like that. Things that can contribute to the conversation, right? And we can have a bit of a discussion here. Again, for me, oh, we actually did take down the units. It can be very tricky, right? But yeah, if you do agree with some of these points, let me know. If you don't, I would like to contribute more thoughts and comments regarding this. Let me know as well. I feel like as an event as a whole, this should not be something that people in the community should rate as the standard for we should showcase units in this event because so and so and so said so. No. This event is clearly meant for stacking units. This event is clearly meant for stacking characters. There are some characters in here that can be able to stack attack and defense very decently. But one-off units that can only raise their attack and defense for the turns, this is not the new standard. This is not a new Red Zone Broly type of event or Red Zone Movie Boss Rush type of event, right? This is a one-off critical thinking type of event that people should only do it whenever they have spare time, because it takes just so long to get to that position of like trying to go super far in the event and try to beat it. Yeah, like look at this. Like right now we're doing pretty good in terms of stacking, right? So yeah, let me know down your thoughts in the comments below. Again, if your comments didn't make it into the video, leave them down below as well, just so we can continue the discussion of this. I'm sorry that this actually went over an hour, where I didn't think it would go for that, but yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.